Hi everybody, welcome back. In this episode I'm building a wall furniture piece and a TV cabinet. This is made as free floating shelves from thick oak. This project came about as a request by friends. That is always cool because then you can create something special for them. We looked around some furniture ideas online and found a cool consensus about thick shelves with colored cabinets underneath. The work started by finding some rough oak. I could source these oak beams. I like these because the grain lines and defects in the wood. This doesn't make all the steps quicker or easier, but the result is quite attractive and rugged. The thickness came in handy for the shelving design. I ripped the beams in half with a handsaw. Big bandsaw could have been a bit quicker and more accurate. I wouldn't have liked it to use a bandsaw because the beams were very heavy and unwieldy. So processing them on a stack was practical, and the big handsaw was perfect for the job. The smaller pieces were 70 by 150 millimeters and 1.5 meters long, a much more manageable size for jointing and thicknessing. We have a small jet combi jointer, and working with such a size and length is very pleasing. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing. When one side was flat and 90 degrees, I resaw it to the width, and after that I thicknessed it to the right size. At that point, I could start sorting the pieces how I wanted to join them for the shelving and surfaces. The smaller ones were quite simple, but the large one have quite some parts. I joined them by creating a groove and a biscuit for indexing, like a dedicated joiner machine. I just wanted to try this method and it worked quite well. The setup speed was great actually. There were big cracks and crevices in the wood. Where it was convenient, I used PVA glue on the right spots. Later on, I'm using epoxy on various visible spots. And then glue up. This was not too difficult, but it's relevant to check the sizing and gaps beforehand. Usually with worktop glue ups, the gap tolerance is my gap tolerance is 0.5 millimeters, which is big. But most projects I do, this is fitting because of the industrial design. It's important to stage your pieces to a pattern you like and to see where the difference in height is. Luckily this is hard oak and I could tap with a steel hammer to adjust the gaps and heights. A straight edge helps lining up and looking around the surface to straighten. The large glue went quite quick. The glue didn't set up too soon, so that's perfect actually. This is not always the case. Then the step was to cut the boards for the floating cabinets. These were simple rectangle boxes, joining them with glue and pins, and after that with dowels and screws. Visible faces were completely smooth this way. Oak was put on the edges for strength. Putty was put over the exposed edges and end grain where it was, and primer over all the spots. At a certain point, the hinges can be put in place. Measuring or a jig functions fine here. One cabinet has doors folding towards you. There's a gas spring needed to be added to hold up the door. On the back of the cabinet, a cleat was placed to keep it floating on the wall, and a board to stiffen for shear strength. A complete closed backside was not great because of the wall sockets on location. Then the bright green paint. The cabinets were quite small, so setting up a spray paint machine was not super practical for this size and scale. Then the oak could be sanded and filled when needed. Again, I like the cracks in the wood. When ready, the oak could be shortened to an angle at the end grain. At location, first the holes get drilled. I use a brass anchor in the brick wall and then a steel rod with threads to put in the brass. With bending the rod, I can compensate error for drilling and putting in the brass. And the last big step was screwing on the cleat. then it was finished. This is quite a large and imposing piece, but looks very good in my opinion. It took more time than anticipated, but it's enjoyable to create something beautiful for friends.